get stuck or have any questions. So here are our Zoom norms for tonight. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat to everyone. Your question might be just like someone else's and something that everyone would benefit from knowing. We'll stop to answer if there's something that we can stop to answer in the moment. If you have a personal question, because we know this relates to a lot of private information, please feel free to send a private message through the chat to one of our hosts, and we'll be able to address it in a private chat back to you. After the presentation, we're having that work time for assistance. If you would like to have individual help, please send one of the chats, a chat to one of the hosts, and we'll be able to put you in a Zoom room with one of our experts or let you know what the wait time will be. If you do plan on leaving a little early, please make sure you save the chat. If you open the chat box, I would display it for you, but I can't actually access the chat while I'm screen sharing. If you look at the chat, right above where you would type in, there is a 3-dot menu and there's the ability to save. So that way, if we posted links that you want to keep or have access to after this is over and you're leaving a little bit early, you'll still have access to those later. So who is here? We have a lot of fantastic volunteers who are here to help us tonight. In addition to Hazen staff, I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but I'll go by institution. So Green River, welcome, and please go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Brocious. I use she, her pronouns, and I work as the financial aid outreach specialist at Green River College. And I'm super excited to be here and work with you if any of you have questions. And I also believe that my colleague Sean also popped in as well. So I'll let him introduce himself next.
And he actually volunteered to head over to the Spanish interpretation presentation. So he is also a great resource. Yeah.
We also have Renton Technical College present tonight. I think Marcia is looking for, I think she can't unmute. But there we go.
Hi, yeah. Hi, my name is Marcia DeBuc. I'm an entry advisor at Renton Technical College. I also am a native Spanish speaker. So I don't know if I should go, I didn't know if I should go to the breakout room or like, I'm happy wherever I can stay here too. So
we love you here. Thank you so much.
Okay. Perfect.
Appreciate it, Marcia.
Yeah, no problem.
We also have Bellevue College.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Fetters, and I'm a financial aid advisor at Bellevue College, and also handle the academic progress aspect of receiving financial aid.
And we also have a volunteer from the Community Center for Education Results. I believe, did she head over to the Spanish breakout room?
Yes.
I believe Alejandra Perez.
Oh yes, Alejandra's over there, yeah.
She moved over to the other room, but she is also present tonight. So very thankful for our volunteers who are here tonight and investing time in helping our students and families move on to the next step. We also have quite a few Hazen staff. I think I'm just going to run through the names for the sake of time. We have Mr. Nguyen, our college and career specialist, Ms. Chow, who is our Gear Up coordinator. She's new to Hazen this year as part of the Gear Up program. Ms. Like, who has the caseload of A through E and C this year. Me, I'm Ms. Muto. I have F through L. Mr. Creeley is here and he has M through RI. And then we have Ms. Lally, who has RO through Y. So just as a reminder, we're going to be going through a lot of maybe information that you want to keep. If you're not keeping it electronically, make sure you have a pad and something to write on near you to keep notes of logins. I'm going to pass it off to Christy.
Okay, great. Thanks again so much. And again, just a reminder, as we are presenting, if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat to everyone, and we'll do our best to just be addressing those as we go. So just a general overview, what is financial aid? And obviously, college is super expensive, and there are many things that you have to pay for, right? Not just tuition, but there are fees from the schools. There's room and board if your student chooses to live on campus, transportation costs, books and supplies, and other living expenses. So the nice thing about financial aid is it has the ability to cover all of those expenses, not just tuition, to help make college more affordable. When we talk about financial aid, that term is really an umbrella term. And within the subject of financial aid, there are four main categories. The first one are grants, which is a form of gift aid, and it's usually based on a family's financial need. Grants do not need to be repaid unless, for example, you withdraw from school. And grants, unlike loans, of course, they don't have any sort of, oh geez, what's the term I'm looking for? Help me out, Maria. You don't know.
Interest?
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, I just went blank. Thank you, Anna, for the win. Okay, grants, no interest. Okay, scholarships are awarded to students based on academic or individual achievements. Scholarships, typically students have to apply for those scholarships individually, and there are all sorts of scholarships available, generally from the institutions that they choose to attend, but also private scholarships. Work study is another aspect of financial aid, and it allows a student to work on campus or with approved off-campus employers to earn money to pay for their college expenses. And then finally, we have loans, where that is money that students borrow to pay back with interest. Hey, there's the word. They can be given by the federal government, called federal student loans, and usually offers borrowers lower interest rates and have more flexibility for repayment options than loans from private banks or from banks or private sources. Okay, so the rule of one. So applying for state and federal financial aid, gives you access to the largest sources of financial aid to pay for schooling. But there are two major financial aid applications for our students in Washington, and students can only apply for one of those sources. So we're going to make it really clear which of those financial aid applications your student should be applying for, depending on their individual circumstances. We really wanted to try and dispel some myths that are out there related to financial aid, because these myths have kind of perpetuated and they have held students back from accessing money that is available for them to go to college. So we really think it's super important that we just cover these briefly. So myth number one, students can't apply for financial aid unless they know exactly what they want to do after high school. That is false. So we encourage all students, and literally all students, to complete a financial aid application even before they're submitting their college applications. That's because there are a huge range of opportunities students can use their financial aid for, and they don't have to have made their final decision yet while they're applying for financial aid. Okay, myth number two, financial aid only pays for universities. That takes 4 years. What if my child needs to start working now? So in reality, financial aid can be used at almost all types of secondary education, post-education options, including career and technical institutions, community colleges, and some apprenticeships, and yes, those big 4-year universities. Myth number three, only star athletes and students with good grades get financial aid. False. Good grades or athletics may help a student get into certain schools, but most aid programs do not take students' grades or sports abilities into consideration. Myth number four, I won't qualify for any money because my family income is too high. So again, we really are wanting all of our seniors to be applying for financial aid. There are many reasons for that. So financial aid applications qualify students for more than just the federal loans. So many grants and scholarships still require students to have completed their financial aid application first before they qualify for those other types of financial aid. It costs money to apply for financial aid. Oh no, it does not. And if you're on an application that for some reason is asking for your credit card, then you're definitely not on the right website. Both the WASFA and the FAFSA, which are those two separate financial aid applications for students in Washington State, are 100% free. So please don't pay a fee. And then finally, you have to accept the aid that is offered. Not true. Students and families are under absolutely no obligation to accept any of the aid that is offered. You can choose to accept some of it, all of it, or none of it. Maria, am I still going on this one?
I can to go.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
So thank you, Christy. For protection of information, it's going to be asking you a lot of personal questions, and we just want you to be assured that your information is protected and won't be shared with others. So both the FAFSA and the WASFA require you to enter that personal information, but any of the information that you supply is covered under FERPA. That means that it can't be released to outside agencies, and that includes DHS and USCIS. The only information that goes for WASFA goes to the Washington Student Achievement Council, which is known as WASAC. And they send it to the colleges that students request to have it sent to, and they do not share it outside of their systems. And the same is true of FAFSA, except it also goes to the Federal Department of Education as the main clearinghouse. So if one of my awesome colleagues could drop the link page for all the links that we're going to be referencing tonight, if you are still confused about which one your student should complete or your family should complete, here's a quick comparison between the WASFA and the FAFSA. And there is a quiz available through the WASAC portal that helps you figure out which one applies if it's still not clear. So the WASFA is mostly for students who are undocumented, who have lived in Washington for a year and going to earn their high school diploma or GED here. And the FAFSA is mostly for students who are US citizens or legal residents or have some types of visas, even if their parents are not documented. Here's a quick list of what you would need for both of the applications. We sent this out, I believe, in an email beforehand, so we're not going to linger too long on it, but it's pretty similar, the information, and it's also available in that link list. I'm going to go over the WASFA first, and then we'll move into the FAFSA. So the WASFA is, again, for those students who are not documented but have lived in Washington. So you would go to that first link to be able to create an account and starting a new WASFA. There is the ability on both the FAFSA and the WASFA, I believe, to have the select language tool. I think the FAFSA only does Spanish and English, but the WASFA does have a number of different languages it will translate into using the Google Translate tool. So take that with a grain of salt with how good the translations are going to be. So first, if in the WASFA, your student and family will be asked eligibility questions to just double check that this is the right application for them and that they don't need to be filling out the FAFSA instead, because remember, there's only one application you should be filling out. They'll be asked, again, that final eligibility question. They're really hammering that in to make sure that it's the right application. And then basic information, name, the email, creating a password. It's going to ask for a bunch of different numbers. And if the student or family doesn't have a DACA number, a social security number, don't fill it out. It's okay to leave it blank. Make sure, this is both for WASFA and FAFSA, we're going to mention it a few times, that you're applying for next school year. You're going to have the ability to apply for this current school year and then the next year. And you want to start for the fall that your student will be going to college. So that will be 21-22. Here's a quick look at the navigation bars on the WASFA application so that you can see that you can go back and forth after you save and continue, and kind of lets you know which section that you're in, so the questions make a little more sense. This is students are going to be asked to provide some information, and just like before, if you do not have an answer to the question, feel free to leave it blank. So if the student doesn't have a DACA number, a driver's license, the thing to keep in mind in this section is that it's asking about the student. So it's asking if the student is married. It's asking how many people live in the student. So if the student's living alone, not the household. The next thing is going to be determining whether or not they need parent information. So it's going to ask some information about who the student lives with, who supports them. if they've ever been in foster care. It will also ask income questions. Again, this is for the student. So the student is responding about whether they filed taxes and how much income they have at the time. The WASFA will then ask for family information, and this is the part where they would tell if their parents are married. It's very important to keep an eye on which section that you're in so that you're not mistakenly noting that the student is married. How many people live in the household. It's also going to ask for the parent's information. If a parent does not have a social security number or DACA number, it is perfectly acceptable to and necessary to put all zeros. The most important thing to keep in mind is that this needs to match exactly with what the parent puts in when it's their turn to sign it. And that's the same for the FAFSA. You need to make sure that all the information is correct. It's hard to go back and change. We always advise that students select on campus for their housing plans because it provides the most aid initially, and they can always change their mind if that's not what they're planning on doing. In this field, it's really important that students know they don't have to have applied to any of these schools to put them on this list. It wants to know which schools the student is interested in planning to apply to. And they have to be for the WASFA, just the WASFA, they have to be in Washington State. That is not true for the FAFSA. The student will be given the opportunity to review all of their questions. I say that like it's a choice. They have to view their form and review all their questions before they can move forward. And then they sign it electronically and submit, and they will be redirected to have the parent signature created. And that will happen with entering the parent information and sending them an email invite, and they will input their information to connect to the student account. And that's why it's really important that all the information matches up. So if the student put all zeros for the SSN, we want to make sure that they put it in when the parent logs on. The parent will review everything and confirm and sign the information. They're just reviewing and checking the student's work. And then there's no email confirmation for any of this. Students will have to be very vigilant about checking their emails. And that's for any financial aid application or school applications that they're completing. Check your email. That's like just the message we want to get out, is that emails have to be checked faithfully in order to make sure they're not missing anything, because they'll send any questions over. So what happens after a student fills out the WASFA? So the Washington Student Achievement Council will double check that it's been signed, and then the information will get sent over to the schools that the student listed. And then it's on the student to make sure that they're checking their email to see what offers they're getting from the schools, because the schools are going to reach out to them through the information they gave in that application. And then they're good to get going and see what they're being offered. And it's really important that just like the FAFSA, the WASFA has to be completed every year. Oh, raffle. But not everyone's in the room.
So I only have 3 names for the raffle. So if anyone else who's here who wants to be entered in, you can definitely do that.
I will put the link in
Yeah,
the
can
chat
you?
really
I
quick.
can't find the link.
We'll do that one more time while we're switching presenters. If you haven't completed the attendance link, we invite you to do that. That helps us just know who we were helping out tonight. Oh, permission is still blocked. Okay, shoot. Trying to fix that. Sorry about that, Sean.
The permission for the
Yeah.
attendance?
Yeah, for the 10 should be anyone with a link.
Okay,
So
great. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and do one raffle real quick.
you just shared it again. Oh wait. Okay. Oops. So when I open this, it goes to another. Always technical difficulties. Okay. All right.
Are you able to share your screen? Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. Tap this.
Okay, this is the super exciting part. Who's gonna win?
Oh,
Desiree Rosario.
Woohoo! So we'll be sending you your raffle prize through your email. Yay, Desiree! Great. Okay.
all
And
right.
Heidi, you're taking the driver's.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Heidi Lally. I am one of the Hazen counselors. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me get that up.
Yep.
Okay. So I am going to talk tonight about the FAFSA, which is the application that a majority of students will complete to apply for financial aid. So the first thing you are going to want to do, if you haven't already, is to create an FSA ID. And the links to do so are in the document that was dropped in the chat. But you're going to want to do this as a parent, even if your student has already. So both of you will need an FSA ID. And then you are going to go to studentaid.gov, where you will be directed to log in. So like Maria said, you just want to make very, very sure that you are applying to 2021, 2022, just because every year there's a new application and you don't want to apply for the current year. So you're going to want to create a save key, which is just very specific to this year's FAFSA in your account, and it'll take you to the spot where you last left off. It's something you're definitely going to want to remember. But it's nice because it means you don't have to finish the application all in one go. You can use your save key to access the last part that you completed. So the first section is mainly just student demographics. They're going to answer some pretty basic information about themselves, although it is just very important to make sure that names are spelled correctly, the birth date is correct, and the social security number is correct, because it is extremely difficult to go back and fix things after the fact. So you're going to answer a few questions about whether you're a state resident and your citizenship, and it will take you to this next section where it will ask students what will be the highest thing they've completed when they begin college, and they're going to say high school diploma. They're going to say they're working on their first bachelor's degree. And then this is important that even if they did Running Start or another program where they earn college credit as a high school student, they're going to select first year, never attended college. We also recommend that you say that you are interested in work study, just because you want to have all the options available to you, and you don't have to take it in the end if the student doesn't want to do it. So on the FAFSA, you must select, the student must select either male or female. And if the student selects male, they are required to register for the selective service, which is the draft. However, it is not registering for the military. And it's unlikely that a draft will be used. But you can register within the FAFSA application itself. So if they haven't registered yet, it will help them do that. So you will search for Hazen in the application, and you can do that just by searching by name, city, and state. And then the next section, you're going to search for the colleges the student is interested in applying to. So that can be four-year universities, two-year universities, trade schools. We kind of went over that financial aid money can be used for any of those things. Don't wait until they've been accepted in order to put their college down. Just put any college that they are considering applying to. However, do know that this application is not applying for the college itself. It's just applying for financial aid through the college. So they must still do the actual college application. You're going to choose to plan to live on campus, just like Maria was talking about. We just recommend it so that they're eligible for the most aid, and it can be changed after the fact if plans change. So high school students are likely to be considered dependent. So There's a series of questions that will allow the student to determine their dependency status, and that will lead them to the next part of the application. So if a student is determined to be dependent, this is where those parent demographics are going to be entered. So parents, you're going to enter your social security number, your name, birth date, marital status, and date of marriage, if applicable. If you're in a single parent household, you will only answer questions about yourself. If you're divorced, you're going to answer questions about the parent that the child lives with most. If you are married or you remarried, if the parent will fill it out with the step parent if that's where the child spends most of the time. If parents are undocumented or do not have a social security number, they will enter all zeros, and you may have to hit that button a couple of times, but it will work. So for household size, students should include themselves, their parents, any siblings in the household or who receive half of their support from the parents, and anyone else like grandparents or other family members who live with their parents and receive more than half of their support from the student's parents. So that is what you will put for household size. So the first question for parent financial information is if you have filed taxes for the previous year. And if you have done so, there's a tool you can use that is called the IRS data retrieval tool. And if you have this option, you should definitely take it. It just imports all of the information from your taxes last year directly into the FAFSA, so you don't have to actually fill it out yourself. Sometimes there's like a mismatch in the address you put down or some other error and you can't use the tool, and that's totally fine. You will just have to use your tax forms that you hopefully have handy, and it's no problem to have to fill it in. So you're going to go through a few pages that just ask a whole bunch of different income information. So if you don't know what it is, or it just does not sound like something you're familiar with, it probably isn't something you have to worry about. Next to each box is a little question mark. And when you click on it, it'll tell you what box to find that information on your tax forms as well. So it'll ask you to estimate the balance of your checking and savings accounts, or it'll ask you just for the balance, but it's totally okay to just estimate. You're not going to include the value of your home if you own it for real estate investments. There's a few other real estate type of questions on here that might apply to you. But if not, it's something you can skip through. So there's a portion about student financial information, but most students don't earn enough money to have to pay taxes or file them. So if they haven't done that and they don't have a bank account, you can just put zeros for anything that doesn't apply to them. They should only be putting things on this part of the form for accounts that are in the student's name. So there's a question about child support in the student section. It's just important to remember that this is for the student. So if you as a parent receive child support, that'll go in your parent section. But in the student section, it's asking if the student received child support for a child of their own or had to pay it. So we're almost there. There's a question about, are you a prepared? That's just someone who is paid to file the FAFSA on your behalf. So you're going to answer no to that. The next page gives you the opportunity to review and print everything you've entered if you'd like it for your own records. You're definitely going to want to look it over before going to the next page. And then it's ready to be signed. So the student and one parent will sign the form. And then you get to click submit my FAFSA. So one thing that's important to note this year is that many families' financial situations changed drastically as a result of the pandemic. And if your financial circumstances do not reflect your 2019 taxes, you can contact the school after filing the FAFSA and let them know that. But you do need to file the FAFSA or WASPA first. And we have another raffle.
So we had one more name added. So woo.
Nice.
All right, let me open it up. Any other names? Checking one more time. Okay. Perfect. Dun, dun, dun. Yay! Karen Reynolds, you are the winner.
Great, thanks, Anyan. Kwan, are you taking over from here? Looks like.
Good evening, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So what happens next after you apply for financial aid? So students will continue applying to colleges throughout the fall and possibly into the springtime. Each college and university that the students have been admitted to in the springtime, or possibly sooner if you are applying via early action, they will provide you with something called a financial aid award letter along with your admittance letter. On that financial aid award letter, they will detail the information and the type of financial aid that you qualify for. I do recommend taking a look at and waiting for all of those letters to come in before you make a decision on what college you want to attend. You want to see and compare side by side all the financial aid award letters from all the colleges the students been accepted to choose the best college or choice option for them for them to attend college. So continue on checking with the college or the university that they have applied to and they are committing to in the future to make sure that they are completing all the steps necessary in order to receive their aid. There are additional paperwork for a lot of the colleges. There are additional things that they need to submit. As I put in the chat, sometimes you need to verify additional information, tax information. They may request tax transcript or a dependency information that they need to re-verify. So keep checking that email, keep checking those applications. Each college will also have their own portal that students can log in to check the financial aid status. A lot of time, you can definitely just log in online and take a look right away, right after your students have been admitted. Some schools might be sooner in releasing that information, some later, but I highly recommend just continue checking with them to make sure that they are checking, the portal or any emails they might have received from the financial aid office. Once you have completed the financial aid application, you can always go in and update the information. But please do keep in mind that you can only update certain information. You can really go in and change your dependency status or the household size or your tax information, all that stuff, or even information about your savings account. All this information needs to be updated via the financial aid office at the school that your students have been admitted to. So keep in mind that if there are any changes that you do want to make, especially during this time, if there are significant changes in your financial situation, the dependency status, or even the household side, all this really does play an important role in to determine how much financial aid your students will receive and can receive for the school year that they will be attending. So scholarships. Scholarships is another way for students to really obtain kind of money for college, pretty much to help alleviate some of the costs that the college costs. So there are many websites students can utilize. The one website that I highly recommend is FastWeb, and the other one will be the watchword.org. These two are amazing scholarship databases. Students create a profile, and I recommend completing as much as you can within that profile so that these databases can search up scholarships and match you up with scholarships based on your profile. So it does all the searching and looking for you and give you a list pretty much of the scholarship that your students can definitely qualify for in applying. And there are a couple of local scholarships that will be coming to the Career Center. I highly recommend your student really check out the Canvas page for any updates on those scholarships as well. Some of these local scholarships will not be posted on the Watchword or the FastWeb due to the fact they're local. They're pertaining to just Hazen students or the Rand School District students, or just locally within the local community itself, offering scholarship to the local high school. So have your student check in on the Canvas page for any upcoming scholarships. There are a couple of scholarships out there. to keep in mind. One is the local scholarship, the other is organizational and institutional. There are three different scholarships. If your student receiving institutional scholarships, that scholarship can only be used at that particular institutional school that your students are have been admitted to. You cannot take that money and go and spend it and use it on tuition for a different school. The other one is organizational. Organizational it could be anywhere from at the national level all the way down to the local level. Those scholarships have really high criteria, and there's the chance of getting the scholarships is pretty low. But I do recommend your students apply because everyone really feels that everyone's going to be applying for this. There'll be a lot more students applying. I'm not going to have a chance of getting the scholarship. There are a lot of students that has that that same thought process. In the end, this end up not applying for these scholarships. So there'll be times where I receive emails from a lot of these organizations saying that they have 10 scholarships to give out, but they only receive three applications. So highly recommend if there's a scholarship that across their desk and that they qualify for, just have them apply. Scholarships tend to get a lot easier as you apply. So encourage your students to really continue applying. It just gets easier and easier and easier from there because then I get used to the process of writing those essays, and they can reuse a lot of these essays for these scholarships. And the letter recommendation that they're preparing, they can reuse a lot of those as well. They requested that letter recommendation early, ask the counselor, teacher, or staff, or community member to really write a generic one for a scholarship, and they can use that for multiple scholarships. So prepare early and continue applying because it just gets that much easier. So the other scholarship that I want to touch base on is called the College Bound Scholarship. So the College Bound Scholarship is a commitment that the state made with the students in the 7th to 8th grade. During that time frame, students that do qualify and eligible are ready to apply for this particular scholarship. And with this is a commitment with the state that by the end of the senior year, if they hold up the College Bound Pledge, they'll be able to receive fundings to help pay for some of the tuition, in-state tuition. This is a Washington College, a Washington scholarship. So it doesn't apply to students who are going out of state. The student must attend a college or a university within Washington state upon graduating from a high school within Washington state. So this is huge because there are a lot of private schools out there that that cost a lot. Even in state, the private school costs are there's a big difference between private and public in terms of the cost of tuition and the cost of attendance. So with this College Bound Scholarship in effect, there are a lot of private schools out there that will cover the entire tuition for students all 4 years if they meet the criteria. For example, if you have a 3.25 or higher, and if you attend Whitworth, for example, you will get your entire tuition paid for pretty much because you're a College Bound Scholarship student. So there are a lot of opportunities for students out there. So if your student is on the College Bound Scholarship list, make sure to let them know that they need to really uphold those pledges, which we'll go through in a little bit. And if they're unsure, they can definitely reach out to me, and I can double check and make sure that they are still on the list, the College Bound Scholarship list, and what they need to do in order to maintain on that list. In order to receive this College Bound Scholarship, you need to apply for FAFSA or WASFA. That is one of the criteria that you need to do. And once you apply, the College Bound Scholarship will show up on your financial aid award letter. So keep in mind that this is something that you do need to do in order to still be considered for the College Bound Scholarship. So these are the pledges for the College Bound Scholarship. I'm gonna run through it real quick. We talked a little bit about it. They have to graduate from Washington State High School with a 2.0 or higher, no felony or convictions, must apply for WASFA or FAFSA, and attend the college within 1 year of graduating. If they are interested in taking a gap year, that is possible, but they must attend the following fall. For example, if they're graduating in 2021, in June of 2021, they can take a 1 year break, go travel, get experience, go volunteer, whatever that it is they're interested in doing. But in order to still be able to access the scholarship, they need to attend school by the fall of 2022. So if your students are interested in taking a break, make sure that they go back to school by that particular time frame. Otherwise, they will lose a scholarship. Washington College Grant. So this is another huge grant that has been basically changed within the state itself. It used to be called the Washington State Need Grant, and before they only cover a low-income, financial-based type of family with a very low income threshold. Now they're increasing that threshold, right? So before it's around 45, 50K a year, around that time, around the income range for a family of four in order to qualify for the maximum amount of aid from this Washington College, Washington State Need Grant. But now they're increasing it by almost about 200%. So for a family of four, if you make under 97K, you're almost 100% guaranteed to receive the maximum amount of aid. If you make more than 97K, the amount of grants that you receive will diminish and decrease, but that's still a huge amount of grant that you can still receive from Washington itself. And I want to reiterate what grants are. Grants are free money. So if you see that on any financial aid, any application that you're applying to and whatnot, or any college that your students are applying to, and they see that grant and scholarship, click yes. They can look at the rest later, select yes for those grants and scholarships because it is free money. Like, it doesn't get better than this if someone's going to hand you the money for college. So keep this in mind that this is huge. It changes a lot of, and in terms of the support that the state is giving for a lot of the middle class family who's always in that limbo of like not making enough to pay for all this expensive tuition and college, but not in a financial need to be able to receive a lot of grants for their students. So this is huge. Take advantage of it. Please do apply. There's nothing you need to do in order to be considered for this except applying for the WASPA or the FAFSA. So, it's just like one-stop shop. You just go in there, apply, get considered for federal aid, get considered for Washington College Grant, get considered for other scholarships. So it's pretty amazing. Other financial aid events. So the Rent School District is continue supporting you guys and everyone in applying for financial aid. So we have a few events coming up. These are geared towards the seniors during lunch on Fridays, and also some events in the evening time for students and parents who want to sit down and go through some of these events as well. So these are the dates we have up. If you want to register for this, please go onto this website. We'll put that link in there. All the information should also be in the link of resources that we're providing. You can register online. We'll have financial aid experts. We have a lot of support for you. So if you have any questions at all, if you run into any issues after this event, and if this event is not long enough for you to complete the application, you need additional support, you're more than welcome to hop into any of these events that we're hosting.
I just want to do a plug for a more in-depth presentation that we do have available. If you saw those little screens in the pictures during the slides, we do have them broken out into each step of each application, and we'll drop the link in the chat. So if you have, there's tips on every slide for each one that you're going to go through. So if you want to be able to see kind of screen by screen what you're going to go through, we do have a presentation that goes through that, and we'll give you the link for that.
I'm putting that in right next.
Thank you.
Of course.
I realized I forgot to mention it when I was supposed to. So this is the work time. If you have questions, go ahead and send a message to one of the hosts. Oh, I left the raise your hand. There's so few of us here that it's okay. Go ahead and just let us know. Or if you have any questions right now that you think would be helpful for the entire group and you just want to ask them while we have everyone in the room, please go ahead. I believe we'll edit the settings so that we can unmute you so you can ask questions or you can drop them in the chat. We also have some exit surveys. Please let me know if these links don't work. I'm hoping that they do. That will drop as well, just for you to give us some feedback about how we did or if there is room for improvement. And also if you would like someone to individually follow up with you to set up a time to check in.
And I just add, in addition to asking questions of the whole group, if you would like some one-on-one conversation with some of our financial aid experts who joined us this evening, I'm happy to put you into a breakout room as well. Ah, and I see a taker right there. Great. Karen, I'm going to send you in with, how about Anna? Give me just a minute.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Wonderful.
Christy, could you put me in a breakout room with Desiree?
Yes, absolutely.
It looks like Mr. Greenlee would also like to go into a one-on-one.
Okay. Let me get a couple of these going and then we'll see how I did. Anna from Green River, you're Anna B, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, Heidi, I'm moving you next with Desiree, right?
Hmm?
Okay, great.
It looks like Kathy G has also requested a one-on-one room.
Okay, and Sean, let's see. Who do we have?
Looks like we still have Jennifer from Bellevue, Marcia
Perfect.
from RTC.
Okay, great. Jennifer, I am going to connect you with Sean, okay? And then I think I saw somebody waiting.
Kathy G.
Kathy, great. Yuko, I'm going to send you in with Kathy G, okay? Oh, sorry, not Yuko, I'm sorry. Marcia. There we go. Kathy G, right?
Correct.
Okay, there we go. Okay, great. Did I get everybody waiting for a one-on-one conversation?
I
Okay,
believe so. Yes, I think so.
okay, great.